Hello Concord, it's Officer Mender here. Going to talk to you this afternoon about sexting and bullying. Do a quick presentation on that just to educate you about the laws and the dangers of the internet and cell phones these days. We're going to start out with a quick video. So the point of showing that video is to make you understand that the internet, social media, cell phones, they're all very good tools for us to interact with each other, to promote different things, but they can also be very dangerous, and that's what we want to talk about today. So the things we're going to talk about is understanding sexting and cyberbullying and the impact that the technology can have on you and the dangers that it can be. What is sexting? Sexting is the act of sending sexually explicit messages or photographs, primarily using your cell phones. This has become an epidemic in our world because many of you, that's the sole way you communicate with each other is through your cell phones, and sending pictures of yourself can lead to very dangerous things and even criminal activity. What's cyberbullying? Well, the use of the internet and related technologies to harm other people in a deliberate, repeated, and hostile manner. We've seen several cases here at the schools, whether it's the intermediate, junior high, or high school, where kids are using Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and several different accounts to harass other students, to make fun of other students, and make comments that are seriously inappropriate and can also lead to criminal charges. What's the myths about sexting and bullying? Well, a lot of you think that whether you're sending pictures, you're sending bullying messages, making fun of kids, you think it's harmless, okay? You think that, well, the pictures that I'm sending are of myself And so they don't have an impact on anybody else but me and the person I'm sending them to. You think that it's okay to send pictures to people that you're dating or somebody you care about because they would never do anything to hurt you. You think that the things you're saying about other people on these social media sites are just jokes, that you're just being funny and that everybody thinks it's funny. And finally, a lot of you don't understand that there's laws against these things, and by doing these kind of things, you're actually breaking laws. And so we want to educate you on those laws and what the consequences can be. The truth about sexting and cyberbullying is that once you hit send, you can never retrieve those things. Whether it's a picture or a comment, it's out there and it can be found, it can be seen by millions of people. The other truth is that sending pictures of yourself naked or sometimes even barely clothed can result in a crime. Sending, saving, or requesting pictures, whether it's your girlfriend, a friend, boyfriend, whoever it is also a crime. The consequences can be pretty severe for these types of things. Photographing or disseminating images of someone younger than the age of 18 engaged in sexual conduct is a felony. And penalties could include at least 2 years and up to 8 years in prison. It's also a level 6 felony to possess any pictures of a child who is younger than 18 years old. And penalties include at least 6 months in jail or up to 3 years in jail for something like that. Child exploitation is defined as a person knowingly or intentionally manages, produces, sponsors, presents, exhibits, photographs, films, videotapes, or creates a digitized image of any performance or incident that includes sexual conduct by a child under the age of 18. So whether that's an activity or just a photograph, if you're producing those kind of things, even if it's taking a picture of yourself and sending it to a significant other, you can be charged with that. And we do have cases in Elkhart County where that has been charged before. So what happens? Let's say that you send a picture or you receive a picture, you're in possession of a picture, and you disseminate it out to several other students or your friends at a party. You could actually be charged with a crime, okay? And if you are charged and found guilty of that crime, there's several different consequences when you're convicted of a sex crime. You can't live within 1,000 feet of a school, all right? You may not live within 1 mile of the victim's residence. It's required that you install software on your computer so you can be monitored as to what you're looking at and what you're doing while you're on the internet or on social media sites. The sex offender probation also limits the offender from visiting certain websites. So they're going to monitor those websites, and if you visit those websites, then you're going to be in violation of probation or whatever restrictions you have. There's mandatory treatment. They're going to make sure that you get sent to counseling services and different things to try to prohibit that behavior in the future. And you'll also be required to register as a sex offender. That could be anywhere from 5 to 10 years to the rest of your life. There's also limitations on the activities and places you can go. You'll be required to undergo a substance abuse evaluation to see that if any kind of substance abuse led to your behavior. You must maintain a single-digit address and must notify people where you're living, and it's going to be monitored. You're going to be on a website where people can look you up and actually see where you live. You might be prohibited to where you can travel and what times you can travel. In some circumstances, you're not allowed to vote. It doesn't matter whether you're voting for mayor or president or who's running for the election. You're not going to be able to have a voice in that. A lot of times you have to get approved for employment. You got to notify the sex offender database and the officer in charge of that through the county where you're going to be working, and they have to actually okay that you work at that place to make sure you're not violating any other restrictions of who you're going to be around while you're working. The offender is likely to be prohibited from having any contact with children under the age of 16. And that can get messy because you have family members that you might not be allowed to hang out with because of the fact that you've been found guilty of a sex crime. Some things continue. You'll be prohibited from being present at any school, daycare, or playground. All right, you can't go out to the park with your family. You can't go to any school events because now you're registered as a sex offender. You'll be prohibited from being involved in organizations that involve children. So the YMCA, Boy Scouts, a lot of events that teenagers like to be involved in, you're not going to be able to go to anymore because of the people you're going to be around. You'll likely have to participate in periodic lie detector testing. That's a way that probation can monitor your behavior and see if you've been involved in any other sex crimes since your conviction. You'll be subject to detailed monitoring by the probation officer. You might have to do a daily log. You might have to check in daily with your probation officer. They're going to be like your shadow. They're going to be checking on you constantly to make sure you're not engaging in any illegal behavior or doing things that you cannot be doing while you're on probation. And like we talked about before, it's going to prohibit the use of the internet. So you're not going to be able to use Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all those ways that you communicate with your friends might be restricted, and you're not going to be able to do those things anymore. Let's take a little look at a case review here, and this is actually a case from our high school in the past. A 15-year-old girl sent nude photographs of herself via the internet using social media. That student was actually charged with manufacturing, possessing, and distributing child pornography. Like I said before, it doesn't matter if you take a picture of yourself, it's still manufacturing child pornography, and then if you send it, you get charged with the distributing of child pornography. She sent this particular case, she sent the photos to a 27-year-old that she had met on Snapchat. That's why the social media, internet can be a dangerous place. This student didn't even know this 27-year-old, just met him randomly on the internet, and throughout the relationship, ended up sending these photographs to an adult. Like previously stated, even if she would have sent it to a boyfriend, okay, that still constitutes as a crime, and she still could have been charged, given that those pictures came out just like they did in this case. In this case, obviously, the man was charged with unlawful sexual activity because he was soliciting photographs from a minor and contained pornographic photographs on his phone as well. CBS News correspondent Kelly Watson commented, "Kids really need to know and understand that their digital footprint will live on forever." Not only are these things crimes, but you got to understand that when you go for employment later on in your life, that people are going to look at your digital footprint, okay? They're going to be able to look up your Facebook accounts, your Instagram accounts. They're going to see pictures and comments and things that you've posted. And while it might not fall underneath this category, they're still going to evaluate you based on the things that you've put on social media and the internet, and that might hinder your job selection in the future. All right, here's a comment from the case. "It was a stupid thing I did because I was upset and tired, and it was in the middle of the night, and I was an immature kid. You will find me on the registered sex offender list next to people who have raped children, molested kids, things like that, because I sent child pornography." Okay, you send a picture of yourself. This is the reality, that you are now associated with these people who have raped people, who have molested kids. You find yourself on that registry next to them because you sent a picture of yourself. So that's what we're trying to teach, is the severity of these things. Okay. Let's move on to cyberbullying. This has also become an epidemic in our hallways in our schools because kids don't understand that the things they put on social media when talking about other kids has a large impact on students and kids in their lives, and can ultimately lead to things like self-harm and different other crimes that don't need to occur. So Indiana law defines bullying as unwanted repeated acts, including digitally or electronically transmitted communications, as well as physical aggression and other behaviors that are intended to harass, ridicule, humiliate, intimidate, or harm the targeted student, place the victim in reasonable fear of physical harm or property damage, and substantially interfere with the victim's academic performance, ability to participate in or benefit from school services, activity, and privileges. Basically what that's saying is anytime you put something on the internet about another student, whether it's Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, if you're harassing somebody, if you're threatening them, okay, if it's causing them to live outside what would be considered a normal day and for them to be able to function normally, you can be charged with bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, intimidation, those kind of things. A person convicted of a level 6 felony faces imprisonment of 6 months up to 2.5 years and a fine of up to $10,000. A person convicted of a Class B misdemeanor, harassment by obscene messages, faces incarceration for 180 days. So what you're looking at is if you do those things and you get charged with harassment, these are the consequences you're looking at. You can also be charged with intimidation. If you bring in weapons or things like that when you're making these comments on social media, that enhances the crime and you could face even more serious consequences than what you see here. We're going to close with this video, and it's just an illustration of how cyberbullying, posting things on social media can actually impact the life of a student. I would encourage you that if you're a victim of this, come talk to myself, come talk to a counselor or admin, and let us get you the help that we can provide in figuring out who's doing this, who's harassing you, and we can put a stop to it.
Your part by using stop, block, tell. Stop. Stop and think before posting something online that might be upsetting to someone. Think about how you would feel